This week's headlines from the Premier League are:
Manchester is red as Michael Carrick wins the derby as City are beaten up at Old Trafford.
Arsenal can't take advantage as they draw 0-0 with Nottingham Forest.
And Aston Villa can't close the gap as they're beaten by Everton.
Chelsea are up and running under Liam Rossini after they beat Brentford 2-0.
While Liverpool can only draw at home with Burnley.
West Ham heap pressure on Thomas Frank as Callum Wilson's late winner steals 3 points for the Hammers.
And another late goal for Leeds as Nemecha sees off Fulham.
Brian Brobby's the man for Sunderland as his winner secures 3 points against Crystal Palace.
And Wolves' revival continues as they manage to hold Newcastle United, who missed the chance to go fifth. So let's kick off with Manchester United and Michael Carrick guiding them to a derby victory over Manchester City. Did you see that one coming? And I tell you what, let's just give Carrick the job full time right now, should we?
Well, off the back of that performance, I think there'd be a few fans wanting him to sign on a permanent basis because it was refreshing. It really was refreshing after watching a long period of Amorim's 5 at the back, 3 at the back, 4 at the back, 7 at the back, whatever he felt like. Michael Carrick came and just brought a breath of fresh air to United. They had a spring back in that step. That new manager bounce that we so often see, United had that in an abundance. And a 2-0 victory over City wasn't flattering them at all. It could have been 3, it could have been 4. So a great start to his reign at Man United. But it's one game. The new manager bounce, the honeymoon period, it usually lasts a couple of weeks. Will they even get a couple of weeks out of it with Arsenal coming next weekend? I don't know, but great start. Let's keep it positive for the United fans on here.
So are you telling me here, Stephen, that United have had the players all along? So it wasn't about the players?
Not only do they have the players, they have a bunch of talented players. They also have players on the bench that can come on and impact games. I've just not understood this. Kobe Mainoo is the best example I can give you. He's sat on the sidelines for I don't know how long. He comes on his first start since May, and he plays like he's been playing week in, week out. He's an England international, and he proved that in glimpses. That wasn't his best performance, and he will get better and better and better as he gets the confidence back, as he gets the rhythm back. But for someone who's been sat outside for so long to come in and do that, proves to me that not only have they got the players in the 11, they've also got the players on the bench that are capable of coming on and delivering performances against top Premier League sides. So, yes, they have the players. One thing I do want to touch on is who is making the signings, because there's now talk of them buying Elliot Anderson. Now, is Michael Carrick as interim manager making that decision, or is that decision coming from above?
I mean, I started off by asking you, just give Carrick the job right now. But I'm getting the feeling that maybe you don't think that's right. And I also wonder whether the events in southeast London this weekend have any bearing on what's going on at Old Trafford, or am I putting 2 and 2 together and coming up with 5?
Well, you've been in the game long enough to know that these things do happen. You know, agents have conversations with board members and deals get done way in advance of the public knowledge. So there is a possibility that Oliver Glasner has been tapped up by Man United ahead of, the new season. But I want to focus on what's going on at United right now. And right now, Michael Carrick has got a job of motivating the players. I don't think he's going to, no disrespect, have all the tactical options in training and be able to put this and that to the players in such a short space of time. What his job right now is to do is to get the players together collectively, motivate them, give them basic information, and then the quality that they've got, they'll go out there and deliver.
So there we go. City beaten at Old Trafford, Stephen, and Arsenal must have been licking their lips, rubbing their hands, thinking, happy days, here we go. Easy win. We're going to be 9 points clear at the top of the Premier League. Didn't quite pan out. Is this Arsenal once again stumbling at the worst possible moment?
Potentially. It's a strange one. That miss by Martinelli, could that prove to be costly? Potentially. There's also the penalty shout. I've heard Arteta it was a clear penalty. How was it not given? I don't know. Same thing I saw at the Spurs game. The inconsistency with the decisions around handball is just crazy. It touched his hand. The ball wasn't out of play. It's a penalty. Why wasn't it given?
Interesting. I didn't hear Arteta coming out midweek and saying our first goal shouldn't have stood because of a foul on Chalobah or a foul on Cucurella for our second goal. Didn't come out and say those things then, did he? But suddenly he's all up for a handball and we should have had a result. There we go. What goes around comes around, Mikel, my friend. What goes around comes around. But enough of that. Meanwhile, let's go across North London, shall we? Thomas Frank booed by his own fans. Even they were singing "You're getting sacked" in the morning. Right, what is this about? Is this Tottenham being Tottenham all over again? It doesn't matter who you get in as manager, the club is set up to fail. Or was Brentford set up so well that actually Thomas Frank isn't quite the real deal that everyone thought he was? Which way round is this?
No, I think Thomas Frank is a top manager. I think he's a top manager, and I think that if given time, he will turn things around at Spurs. The issue that I have with Spurs at the moment is they've had 7 managers, including 2 interim managers, in the past 6 years since Poch left. 7 managers. There's zero consistency. It's impossible year in, year out to be changing managers. The players seem to take zero accountability. Now, I'm not here to say that performance was all on the players, but they certainly have to take some amount of accountability for that performance of the weekend. I was at the game. The first half was shocking, absolutely shocking. Taking nothing away from West Ham, because they could have been 3-0 up and they performed well. First time in a long time they've performed that well. From a Spurs perspective, that was shocking. If I was on that pitch, I would have gone in at half-time, forget what the manager has to say. Myself as a player would have said, boys, this is embarrassing. This is embarrassing. We need to earn back some self-respect here. Let's get ourselves out there and put in a second half performance. Probably wouldn't have said it in such nicer words either. They did show a little bit more urgency in the second half, but it wasn't enough. It wasn't enough to win a Premier League match. So just it's irrespective of who's in charge, what formation you play, what tactics you apply. The players need to want it and show more desire. They certainly didn't show that this weekend.
What a corker.
All right, now's the part of kicking off when I get to ask Stephen, who has had a Stephen Corker this weekend. Who is your nominee this time around?
For me, this week it goes to Callum Wilson. 2 weeks ago, he was having his contract torn up and there was talks of him going to Celtic. 2 weeks later, he's earned his place back in the team, coming on as a sub. 2-3 minutes to go. Direct impact, chests it down, has a shot, blocked, goes out for a corner, scores from the corner. 3 touches, and he takes home 3 points for West Ham, which arguably right now is the most important 3 points of the season, because that closes the gap on Nottingham Forest and it lets them know that the Hammers are coming. Great moment for Callum Wilson. It just goes to show you could be down but not out. What a great show of resilience from him, and hopefully for a West Ham point of view they get to kick on now and cause Sean Dyche a headache.
I mean, getting this Stephen Caulker award is not that difficult. Scoring a win against Spurs is hardly a triumph at the moment, is it? But I get your point.
What a Regi Blinker.
Rob Wotton, this is the part of the show where I get to ask you, who has had a Regi Blinker Stinker this weekend?
It's got to be Crystal Palace, hasn't it? Surely. There they are, a new era. The Eagles are flying. They're winning the FA Cup. They're winning the Community Shield. They've got a great manager in there. They've got a great leader in Mark Gay in there. South East London, the Croydon area is buzzing. I am old enough to go back to 1976, and I saw Crystal Palace go all the way to a semi-final at Stamford Bridge when they were beaten by Southampton, who would then go on to beat Manchester United. Those were heady days for Palace. This was even better for Palace. And what do? They press the self-destruct button. Glasner comes out, says, I'm leaving at the end of the season. Most probably will go even sooner, according to some reports, could be gone by the end of this week. Mark Gay goes. Some way I understand that. He wants to move on. But they got this great team here. It looked like they were building something fantastic. And if you're a Crystal Palace fan, it feels like it has all been destroyed in the blink of an eye. So they, my friend, have had a Regi Blinker.
And we've actually got a clip from Oliver Glasner, which we'll play now, from the post-match interview after the Sunderland game.
If your heart gets torn out twice a year, and with Eze one day before a game in summer, and your captain one day before a game, I've just no understanding.
Right, so listening to that, he speaks about Eze leaving, Gay leaving. He doesn't hold back. It's very, very clear who he's talking to. We've seen it now with Maresca talking out. We've seen it with Amorim talking out. Is this becoming a theme, do you think, Rob, where managers are now just speaking out against the club in public, in interviews? Is this a theme? Is this their way to get sacked and get paid? What do you think of it?
Players now have to play like robots, don't they? They have their positions. They've all got the days of... I mean, look at Jack Grealish, one of the most gifted players. He's kind of got pigeonholed at City, wasn't allowed to express himself. Players are robots. They now want managers as robots. Can you imagine Brian Clough managing in the Premier League right now? He wouldn't survive 5 minutes, would he? Because he'd go off on one. He'd be censured by the FA, let's start with that, censured by the Premier League, and then most probably told by his sporting directors that he can't say those sort of things, and he'd be out of the club. Football now is becoming, I think, robotic, is becoming kind of so streamlined and pigeonholed that managers aren't allowed to express their beliefs. I love it that Glasner has come out and spoken from the heart. If I was a Palace fan, I know where my loyalties would lie at this moment, and it wouldn't be towards those in charge of the club and those decisions. But then again, I'm not in charge of the purse strings of the club. I don't know what's going on at Palace, that, you know, maybe Palace desperately need these monies, and the asset stripping of the squad is sadly an inevitability. My heart is very much with Glasner here, and it's this sort of straight jackets that managers have to operate in. You were saying earlier about, you know, do they even decide their players? It doesn't seem that they do anymore.
You're 100% right there, Rob. What I would love is to see and hear the owners come out and make a statement. Because it's always the managers who are held responsible after the game. It's always the captains, the players who have to come out and speak. I would love to see a sporting director, a chairman or an owner come out and make a statement. Steve Parish, come out and explain what's going on from your perspective. Because if it is a financial thing and they're in a hole, the fans could probably understand that. But when you're only hearing it from one side, it's really frustrating. And as you mentioned, managers are pigeonholed, and it doesn't make for a better game. I want to see more expressive managers. I don't want to necessarily see managers going and crying week in, week out in order to get sacked, but I do want to see managers be able to express themselves, because that will reflect in their team, which will reflect in the football, which will make an all-round better game.
Okay, this is the part of kicking off where I get to ask Stephen, what on earth is going on at Manchester City? They had the chance to close that gap on Arsenal. Hindsight, of course, because they played first, but they could have done it. Yet they didn't. They lost at Man United. It's 4 league games without a win for Manchester City. Are we seeing a repeat of last season when they just seem to fall apart? This is normally the time they become stronger. When does a little blip become a downward trend?
It looks like a downward trend right now. It looks like a bit more than a little blip, because it's happening at such a crucial time. And that's one of the worst I've seen City. I mentioned a few weeks ago it was one of the best I've seen City when they beat Nottingham Forest, and they looked in fine form, and the ball was moved around the pitch so sweetly, and the movement of one another was immaculate. Fast forward 4 games, that didn't look like the same City team. They really, really struggled against United, and there wasn't really any energy there, which was surprising. I know there's been a big shift at City over recent years. They've lost, in my opinion, the heart of the team in Kevin De Bruyne. He's a player who, was Mr. City, really. He was the link between the back line and the front line, and losing him, he's a hard man to replace. It seems to me that there's a lot of conversation now around Pep's future and whether he's going to be at the club, but he surely won't want to leave the club without winning another league title. He won't want to bow out in second or third place this season. So I think if they do finish second or third, which looks likely, I think we'll see him there for another year, and City will have to get it right. They're making signings galore to get it right. Semenyo, great signing. Gay, if they get it over the line, another top signing. So City, we could be talking about them next season, but this season, I feel like they're just giving it away.
Steven gets his balls out.
Now is the time on Kicking Off we get out Steven's crystal balls as he looks into the future and predicts what's going to happen and when. This is quite a dangerous pastime, considering the results from this weekend. There is some Champions League on the way as well. Man City away at Bodo Glimt, Arsenal at Inter Milan. They're virtually through, aren't they? Spurs, Dortmund, much riding on that. Chelsea, Paphos and Newcastle PSV also are quite a bit riding on those ones. They'd have to win, you would feel. And then Liverpool at Marseille. Liverpool need a result as well. But let's move on to the Premier League. And it's interesting once again. It will be Manchester City kicking off on the Saturday with Arsenal not playing until the Sunday. So let's have a look and see which way you think it's going to go. Manchester City, Wolves.
Now, Wolves have had a little run of form, but it's too little too late for Wolves. This is the must-win game for Man City. It's a chance for Haaland to find his goal-scoring boots and crush all of Wolves' hope. So I'm going to go with a Man City 3-0 victory.
Okay, Bournemouth against Liverpool on the Saturday.
This game's a little bit more tricky to predict. I think Bournemouth are always one of those teams that manage to find results, especially against the bigger teams. Liverpool, very hit and miss after what we just saw this weekend against Burnley. I'm going to go for a 2-2 draw.
Ooh, okay. And so we go on to Sunday. I'm going to leave the Arsenal one till the end. Newcastle Villa is on a Sunday.
Newcastle at home are a real threat, completely different side to what we see away. It's a must-win game for Aston Villa. It's a really tough one to call. I'm going to go with Aston Villa, a 2-1 victory.
And so we get to Arsenal-Manchester United. According to Stephen Caulker's crystal balls, it'll be a 4-point gap as they kick off against Manchester United. Will it remain at 4? Will it stretch? How do you see it?
I could see this one ending in a draw. I think United with a bit of momentum, new manager bounce, Arsenal trying to crawl over the finish line. I could see this game ending as a draw. I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw with Gabriel to get on the score sheet. He's a centre-back goal machine. If that opportunity to Martinelli fell half a metre behind, Gabriel would have been there to tap it in. If Marino didn't get his head to that cross, Gabriel would have been there to tap it in. So this weekend, I'm sure he'll score, but I think United will equalise, and I think it'll be 1-1.
And that would be a 5-point lead in what has been a 5-star performance, as always, from Stephen Caulker this week on Kicking Off. Thank you very much for watching and listening.
If you enjoyed this episode, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and drop a comment below with your predictions for next week's results. Thanks for watching.